Hey guys, time to do another video. This time I'm going to be recreating Let Me Be Your Fantasy by Baby D. This is an absolute classic, one of my favourite dance tunes. It came out in '92 and it just set the dance floors alight in every club it went to. It kind of helped ignite that early rave scene in the UK. And of course it's underpinned by loads of stuff, especially one of the very famous drum samples. I'll take you through all of that. I'm going to try and rebuild it and recreate it based on some of the original sounds and original samples. Anything I'm not sure of, I'll be plugging the gaps as best I can, as quickly as possible, to try and just recreate that sound. Anyway, let's see how we get on. What you're seeing here is the end result of a template that I did build. So I kind of know what sounds I'm going to use, and the mix is kind of balanced a little bit, as you can see here by all the volume sliders, and I've figured out what plugins I'm going to use. So we're kind of halfway there. So to start with, obviously it kicks off with that
Let me be your fantasy.
vocal, and you can hear the strings coming in, and there's a little bit of sort of synth underpinning, sort of phased sound. So I'm going to try and recreate that at a basic level. Let's start with the strings. It's nice and simple, 4 chords.
Let me be your fantasy.
Now, eagle-eyed people may have noticed I have played that too low, so I'm going to just transpose that up an octave, and it should sound a little bit better once I've looped it. Nice. So just make sure it's fairly consistent in the lengths. There we go. So there's a quick way of doing it, I'm sure, but this will do for now. And that underpinning phase sound, I did find a track where you can hear that phasing. Simply, I'm just going to copy it down, and we've got it, but I'll take out the low end with a bit of EQ. I'll add in a dirty sort of reverb sound to it and a vocoder. Along with the strings, I'll just take that simple preset from Logic, take out the low end again to balance it a bit, keep the chorus in. I'm going to leave the stereo spread because I like how it is, a bit of delay and reverb and effect, and we should have something that works quite well. And then the marimba kicks in. Now again, I've just used the chord game 1 patch because why not? I'm sure they use something similar. That's all it is. I'll just quantize it, and then in the fourth one, it goes down a tone. There we go, loop that. Now you may have heard in the original that last one is slowed down. I'm not sure if they actually slowed the sample down, but a simple way for me to do it, I'm just going to time stretch out this one, just there, and get rid of that last bit, and you should hear it. Suddenly getting the vibe. Copy that across. And then there's some other sort of little synthy bits. A bit higher. And again, does exactly the same thing. It loops, goes down a tone. So that's it. I'll quantize it, copy it to here, and down a tone. Add a little bit of delay, a bit of EQ, and we should be able to hear how it sounds now. Clearly stops here. Oh, suddenly we're grooving. Now, what you also will have heard under here is a drum loop. Now, I don't have the original, I'm not sure where it came from. I'm just going to try and recreate it. It's very simple, it's kick, snares and hats. So let's start off with the hat. So if I quantize that to 16, let me just see how I got on. Is there a good bit? Yes. It's actually all not too bad. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of this. Take every other note and take the velocity down just a little bit. Give it a bit of a mix. And again, that'll stop that here, and we should have... It's quite good. Snare, very simple. That's it. Quantize to 16, loop it, take it off from here. And the bass. That third one was probably best. Sorry, I'm feeling a bit tired. I'm not being able to play as quick. I should slow this down, but I thought I'll keep it just nice and quick. So here we go. What I'll do now is I'll take some EQ and I'll just move out some of the low end and make it feel a bit pitchy, and then I'll take the overall bus and compress it together, and you should end up with something that sounds like this. What I've also got is a vintage tape plugin which just fills it up a bit. I put it on the master submix. Master submix? You know what I mean? I love the look of this plugin, but it really kind of roughens things up, makes things sound pretty cool. Anyway, it's at this point the piano kicks in. Now, before I'm going to do that, I'm just going to add that sound of a club, which you may have heard in the original. Obviously, it's just the sound of someone kicking it and going nuts in a club. I have just found a simple sample off the internet, downloaded from YouTube. I'm just going to import it into my little crowd. Bit of a crossfade in. That's the wrong, wrong bit. Let me put it to the fade tool. There we go. So now we should have a crossfade and a crossfade out. Simple. Right. Now, I think now we've done that, we can probably take it to the piano, which is exactly the same chords as the strings. Now, I've only got a little keyboard, so I'm going to have to just, you have to bear with me, I'll have to play one over the other. Here we go. So then we quantize that, and then I'm just going to do the bass part. There we go. You got the beginnings of it. Now, at this point, it depends on which version you've heard. The drums kick in. I'm going to might as well do it because it's a shorter version, probably the radio edit. So, to start with, let's go with this drum sample. This is the Amen Break, very famous sample. You'll have heard this everywhere, even if you don't know it. This is from a track by a band called the Winstons, and it's called Amen Brother. Not particularly famous track at the time, but then it was basically put out on a disc of sample, or a record of samples back in the mid-80s, and just as sampling was coming up and everyone started sampling it. You've heard it on loads of tracks, from hip-hop to drum and bass, pretty much every beginning jungle track, and of course this one as well. The original track, if I solo it, sounds fairly good, quite funky. Like that. So it just goes on. There's that bit. Pretty much every jungle track you've ever heard use that loop. So what I've done very simply is I've just chopped out that loop, and I'm going to drag it in to where the drums kick off, which is, I've got the arrange bit there. It just starts here. Loop it. First of all, I should have said I need to add some EQ to the piano because I want it to sound a bit closer to the original, so it just bumps up the mids and I add a little bit of reverb onto it. Now you hear it with the drums, which I'm also going to take out the low end, which I've already done, and that should just balance it out for the rest of the drums, which I'm going to add in now. So here we go. I mean, it's already sounding good. What do I want to do now? I want to add the kick drum. There you go, it's a really low kick. It's a synth kick, obviously, but it just underpins it a bit. I'll quantize that, and I'm going to, just to give it that little groove, I'm going to take these down all the way to here. So it's, you only really hear that first one. Loop that. We'll come back to this. The tambourine's just a bunch of 16s, like that. So, add that. Let's quantize that. Add it in. Tom's not in yet. Snare. Well, actually, let's do the hats first of all, because it's basically the same as the hats we used before, which you need to copy across, but it has a open hi-hat. There we go. Easy. Now the snare, this is what gives it its groove. It's just a pitch snare. You can have it on just one snare sound, bit of a synth one. It's pitched up and down, and it just gives it that rhythm. So let's have a look. I'm not sure if that last one's in there, but I'll leave it in for now. And we should end up with a fairly close sounding. So, what you may remember from the original, there's this, it's like the sound of the crowd, but there's also someone playing a trumpet in the middle of that crowd. Now, again, it's probably from a sample, I'm not sure where, but I'm just going to try and replicate it with just a, not, who was that? Just a bit of pitchy, because it's obviously not someone who's really playing it, they're just launching it in a club, so. That'll do. Now, if I take that down in the mix, because it's just a little bit of fun, and I'll add some reverb all the way down, that might sound. There you go. So stupid. Anyway, the other thing, of course, is there's a bass, and now it's really low. You may not even know it in the original track because it's so low. If I play it 2 octaves too high, and then I can pitch it down. That way I can actually hear the notes, because when it's that low, I have no idea what pitches I'm playing. So let's do it. That's it. And also, I think it sounds a little bit more legato, so I'm going to increase the gate to 125. That should lengthen the notes a bit. See how we go. Oh, we've got to take it down 2 octaves. Yes. That's basically the entire groove. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to import the vocal in, and you'll be able to see how it goes. There you go.
Highest heights, let's spread our wings and fly away.
I mean, that sounds pretty close. So that's it. So that's pretty much the entire groove, except for that last breakdown, which was on some versions, and to me really makes this track just come alive. The combination of the original groove and this last bit is just awesome. So I'll copy and paste these bits to get the rest of the arrangement up to that point done, and then we'll take it from there. Right, so here we go. We've got to that point where everything's playing. There's a breakdown. We've got those strings coming in, and then those marimbas come back, and that's a little synth bit, and you think this is where it's going to fade out. Just doing more of the same. Been doing this for a while. Enjoying it. It's all kicking off, and then suddenly it stops. And that is where the next sample comes in. So, for something I hadn't heard of, it sounds a bit like a Beastie Boys track, but some people may think, I don't know. Anyway, it's this kind of old school. It's by a band called the House Crew. It's called All They Want to Do Is Step Dance, and it's just a whole bunch of this vocoded vocal that goes out the whole thing. Now, of course, there's an a cappella version.
Hey, let's do this, jump on the house train. Let's move this, get wise, got legalized, let the public.
And of course, Baby D sampled it.
Underground is where we wanna go moving. House the crowd.
Sounds familiar? There you go. But of course, it's not quite the right pitch. They pitched it up a tone, so I've sampled it.
Underground is where we want.
So, and we'll just bring it to this bit and hit record.
Underground is where we wanna go moving. House the crowd.
Simple. That's it. And then the rest of it kicks in. Of course, the drums do. And there's this sort of weird tom about there. It's just a little offbeat tom.
Underground is where we wanna go moving. House the crowd.
This is where that filthy bass kicks in. So what I've got here, obviously that's basic sine wave bass for the most of it, but here we have something absolute dirt. So there is this soft synth called Monopoly by Korg. It's emulating an old synth they did. I'm sure it's far more famous than I'm aware of, but oh my word, do I love this. You can get some absolute hot. You ready? I can do so much with this. Yes. So let's record it. Oh, I mean, I could listen to that all day. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna keep going. So there's more bass. Another filthy bass. Oh. Oh, just love it. Again, that sort of filthy sound. I mean, can't get enough, but it's kind of a bit raw, so there's a bit of bend in there. And again, I'll just record that. So then we've got these sort of weird sort of synth bits over the top, like this. It's all repetitive and I don't know, but for the way I've done it, I've just added an arpeggiator to it. So, and that kicks in with its filthy bass does. So let's just see how it goes. Loop that. Now there's also some weird, and for this, just some weird sound effects. I just used a basic synth and just created using some white noise, and bang, you're away with a few frequency filters. That is it. That is literally the entire track, and we're done. So what I'll do now, I'll just finish off that last little bit of an outro, and then we'll listen to it, and that's it. What I've done is I've just added a couple more bits of EQ. I've added a sub bass onto that filthy bass part just because I realised it was a bit too much, so I've actually EQ'd on the master bus a little bit. A couple of extra bits of reverb and some compression. I was going to put it on the master bus as well. Started mucking about with it, but really didn't have the time to make it sound anything other than a bit muddy. So here we go. Here's the final mix. See what you think.
Let me be your fantasy.
Love it. Phasing's perhaps a little loud, but anyway. And a drop.
Underground is where we wanna go moving. House the crowd.
Oh, look at this bit. And we're back. Stupid trumpet. Anyway, I'm just going to fade out now. So there you have it. It's all finished. Far too long this video, but there's a lot to it, and even though it's very simple, I got a bit carried away making basically the whole track. So sorry if you've lasted to the end. Well done. Hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and maybe I'll do another one.